Today we're going to start working on building our couches. So our idea is to have two couches opposing and flanking each other. We have 6 of us in here full time, so we need a lot of seating space for obviously just everyday living, but schoolwork and eating and all of that stuff. So our issue, we have a couple issues that we have to overcome, is that these aren't just going to be couches. This has to function as couches. It also has to function as like our dining room with a table, and this is going to be our bed, the master bed. When we decided to go with a little bit of a shorter bus, a 35-foot bus, instead of the full size like 40-foot buses or even the 45-foot buses, we knew that there were going to be some sacrifices. And so one of the kind of sacrifices that we made was not having a separate master bedroom. So the kids have the back, and they have a bedroom for the 4 of them in the back, and that's more important for us, that they have a place, especially because we have younger kids that go to bed a lot earlier than we do, and the teenagers, and so they can go to bed, and then we still have full access to the rest of the bus for the rest of the night, or if we get up early in the morning to work or whatever, we have access to the whole bus. So it made a lot more sense for us to do that rather than make a bedroom for us and then make the kids sleep out here. So that's our plan, is that these are going to be couches, there has to be a table involved, and it has to somehow become a bed. And we looked at a lot of different options. A lot of people do those kind of like slatted beds that, or slatted couches that then just pull out together and make a bed, and that would be fine, but then that doesn't involve a table. And we don't really have a good place to store an extra table that we could just sort of slide in and out. So we just looked through a lot of different options of, could we do some kind of like fold away table, or, how could we make this thing do all of the functions that we need it to do, not be too difficult to do, since obviously this is something we're going to have to do every night and every morning, and possibly multiple times a day, with moving a table in and out, like if the kids are doing school in the morning or we're working and then we want to put the tables away to just have more open space. We need it to be something that's relatively easy. And so we scoured the internet and YouTube and all the places and really looked for a bunch of different ideas. And the one that seemed to fit our needs the best, but still not perfectly, was an idea we found from another bus owner. All right, so we found the Evans family, who on Instagram and YouTube are 8 people, 3 dogs, and a snake on a bus. And they have 8 people, so they were in a similar circumstance where they needed a lot of seating, they needed tables, but they do have a longer bus, so they have a little more sleeping area. They didn't need their couches to become a bed, which is one thing that is different. But what we really liked about their design was that the table actually flips back and becomes the back of the couches, and it's in 2 halves, which is something we were looking for, because this is our main walkway in the bus, and so we don't want to just have one big table where then nobody can get by. So we wanted it to be able to be in 2 halves, where we could have half up and still have a walkway, or the other half up and have the walkway on the other side, or if everybody's using it, then we can flip down both sides and have one big huge table. So we really like their design. So we're going to link below the video that they have of that kind of shows and demonstrates how they do their table couch design, and they also actually sell the plans to how they made it. And so we purchased their plans, but we are modifying it because ours has to be a little different, since it has to turn into a bed as well, and so we have to make some kind of significant modifications to what they did. But it definitely gave us inspiration for how we could tackle this problem. So the idea is that the back of the couch is attached to arms that then hinge and pivot and flip over and become like a half table. So each half table then comes down and meets in the middle. And that then serves as our couch and table, but then we have to figure out how do we convert that into a bed. And so that's what we're kind of working on to start with, is making these arms and legs that we will then sort of be able to lift off the tabletop pieces and put on some shorter legs that then will lower down to the height that we need to make it a bed. And when it's all in bed form, it will be actually slightly larger than a queen size bed, and so that'll be perfect for us for sleeping, as well as kind of making, like, if we want to have a big movie night with the kids and make it a big lounge space, that should be fine. So that's what we're working on today, is this kind of monster convertible couch, bed, table setup. So the first kind of side project that we had to do to prepare for making the couches is we had to cover the wheel wells. The couch is actually gonna go about halfway on top of the wheel well. So we needed to get that covered first so that then we could make the side pieces that will go over this. But you can see that we couldn't just build a regular box over this because of our chairs and because of the way that they swivel around. They actually, these pieces under here sit lower than the level of our box. So we actually had to make it kind of in two parts, where then it angles down, makes like a ramp over here. That way we still have space where we can swivel around the chair. And so that's what we did. We just made basically a three-sided framework that then angled with two top pieces angled down, but we put kill mat, sound deadening mat over the wheel wells, as well as filled up all the rest of it on top of that with our rock wool insulation, and then secured this all down, and then that gives us a nice platform to build the sides of our couches over up here, and we can still swivel the chairs around. So that was our first little project that we had to do before we can even get started on the couches. So now that that is done, we can go ahead and start cutting all of our pieces, and we're going to start with kind of our sides and our front piece, and then we're just going to go from there. and the front piece cut, and we started working on it for the passenger side. And you can see here's a side that's going to sit over on top of the wheel well, and we have cutouts for a 120 outlet as well as a 12 volt outlet on both sides of the couch. Here's the other side. And you can also see that we have these notch outs because when the tabletop flips back, it's gonna kind of come down and rest right in here. So those are the sides, and then this is the front. And what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna do a similar or the same design on the couch front and sides as we did on our bathtub, which is like our pocket doors, like a play on our pocket doors with the horizontal slats. And when we did the pocket doors, we used unfinished birch plywood and we treated it with pre-stain conditioner to warm up the color, and then we lacquered it. And then when we did the bathtub surround, we decided to just use the pre-finished birch just to kind of save us those steps. But the problem, we really like it still, but the color on it is just a little, I don't know how, like, it's just not as warm as the color you get when we added the pre-stain conditioner. So it's just a little bit different tone on the bathtub surround than it is on the pocket doors. And we decided we like the tone on the pocket doors better, so we went back to using that method. So then what we're gonna do next is we're gonna start cutting all the slats that we're gonna put on the fronts of these.
Determine that these were a certain height. Do you remember, was it ½ inch?
I do not remember.
Go get some ½ inch scraps of wood that you can put inside. Does it need to flush up a little more?
should be good.
Okay. So last one, bottom, how's it?
Yeah, it feels good.
Okay, ready?
Front slats installed, and then we came in and installed the 3 sides into the floor, and then we installed all the slats on the sides individually, making sure that each corner matched up perfectly, and we got those all installed. And then we installed all of our electrical in here. So on each side of the couch we have a 120 outlet as well as a 12-volt outlet that has USB chargers in it. And when we were done with that, we just decided to cover up our mess of screws in here. Since all these slats were screwed in, it was just looked like a mess in here with all the screws. So we just put some cute decorative wallpaper in here to cover that up just for fun. Wasn't necessary, but just for fun. But you can see we have a ton of storage in here for bedding and games and homeschool supplies and outdoor gear, maybe our camera gear, I don't know. We have plenty of storage between this couch and then we're gonna have the other couch as well. We've got lots of storage available in here. So now that we have the basic shell of one of the couches done, we are going to move on to figuring out the arms that are also the legs for the table and the bed. And the hinging mechanism and how this is all going to rotate. So we're going to start with kind of the metal work portion of this by going out and cutting and welding and getting those pieces ready to go.